All right, we're good.
I went live via laptop.
Oh, I kind of scooted over.
Sorry, everyone. Hello again.
Oh.
Everything's backwards again. What else? We adapt. Adapt or die, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then.
All right.
Hope this is not a sign of the day to come.
Mine's frozen.
Yeah, mine wasn't working. Are you Verizon? Maybe it's Verizon.
I'm on the Wi-Fi.
I'm
Oh, you're on the
not.
Wi-Fi. I'm on the Verizon.
I'm on the
Turn this
Verizon.
just a little bit, so maybe I can get some Jenny.
Like we're frozen. Do you ever have those days where just nothing is working the way it's supposed to?
Yes.
Oh.
Today, as a matter of fact. Today. So, what's going on? Can we talk about the topic yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So what's our topic this week?
Today we were talking about the cost of buying and selling a house.
Yes. Buying and selling your house. So does anyone out there think that there might be out-of-pocket costs?
Never.
Because there are.
Other
There
than
certainly
the house
are.
itself. There
Right.
are
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's more than just the house. So I think, where do you want to start? Anybody have feedback if you want to start selling or buying? Because there's costs involved on both sides.
So maybe selling, just because I think
We need listings.
Yeah.
we still need
Desperately.
listings. So the biggest
Desperately.
cost in selling a house, I think, is obviously commission.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Which is negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people that don't know, the commission is how both agents get paid.
Right.
So the cost that you're negotiating when you are listing your home is split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent.
So what's the standard commission?
Depends on the agent.
Yeah.
So the standard commission, I would say, is 6%. 3% goes to the buyers, 3% goes to the seller's agent.
That's usually my standard.
Mm-hmm.
Some agents charge more.
Some agents charge less.
Well, some agents charge for different services. too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but we're full service agents here.
Mhm.
So.
And I would say that standard industry is 6%.
Mm-hmm.
And then some brokerages also have the fee on top of that,
Yeah.
which is for like the
Good point.
the filing, which can range anywhere, I would say $250 to $500.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we
We
at
have
43 homes do
homes.
not have that extra charge.
We don't have the additional charge.
No.
And that's something to think about, because I mean,
It can add several $100s to your.
yeah, I mean, nobody wants to pay extra fees after you're already paying a 6% commission to
Right.
an agent. And again, you're paying 3% to the buyer's agent, 3% to the selling agent. So the selling agent isn't making a killing taking 6% of your house.
Right. And I feel like those additional fees tend to be a lot more with the national real estate companies, the ones that are franchising out. I feel
I
like.
think it all depends on. I mean, I don't.
It does,
I think
yeah.
most brokerages probably do have that. New
They
real
do.
estate agents that are watching, if you have any opinion or
Mhm.
information on that, chime in. I know where I used to be did,
Yeah, right.
Me too.
and now we don't, which
And
makes me
it's
happy.
excellent, because a lot of times I would end up paying it, because
Yeah.
it's hard to ask somebody to pay that, especially I think even asking a buyer to pay it, because they're already spending so much money on a house, you know?
We had someone spending $35,000 on a house. In my old brokerage, the fee was $495.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
The total commission on that was, 3% of 45,000. So we're tacking on an additional
Almost 50%.
1%
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
purchase price. So it's like,
Yeah, it can
so
be
it's-
considerable.
And
anyways,
then when you're not making that much money for you to
Right.
eat it, it's,
Right.
that's a big expense.
yeah. So we don't do that here. It's
Yeah.
just not our philosophy on business.
It's not the
No.
43 homes way.
It is not.
So after that, okay, we're talking about selling. So,
So
any other off the top? Title, yep, title insurance. Their seller's paying it for the buyer.
which we learned, while it's typical in the Columbus and Central Ohio market, we learned yesterday is not the same in other markets in Ohio, but it's what's written in the contract. It's the standard contract that we use here.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And there are costs that are there other title costs? Any title people? What are the costs that are?
there's government.
There's
is your
paperwork.
closing
I mean,
costs? tax, I mean,
admin stuff charges there too.
government
Taxes.
recording costs,
Yeah.
and so your taxes are paid in arrears. I think this is a big surprise for a lot of sellers.
Well, that's another,
Mhm.
that's another point on this is taxes and neighborhood fees. So HOA, sorry, go
Oh,
on.
no. I think that a lot of sellers, when they get their net sheet, so we provide, in the end, how much money you're gonna walk away with when it comes time for closing. So based upon your sales price, how much money, this is how much you walk away with. And they'll factor in your mortgage payoff and all that stuff. I think a big surprise is sometimes the taxes, because people don't realize that in Franklin County, taxes are paid in arrears. So
Yeah.
the tax bill you just paid was for like the 6 months before. So
Right.
now when you go to close, you're going to pay from January 1st through the date of closing, and you're going to credit the buyer that, because that's for the previous.
Well, and plus the rest of this year's tax bill.
Right. And so the taxes, it ends up eating a little bit more into their
Yeah,
than
into the
people are
net,
expecting.
right.
And it's not a cost of selling. You're going to pay that
Regardless,
Right.
yeah.
No matter
Right.
what.
It's not gonna matter.
My mom
right?
always said there's 3 things in life that's for sure, life, death, and paying taxes. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Gotta pay those taxes.
So,
Yeah.
HOA fees, COA fees, if you're in a condo as a COA. For home.
If you have any liens on your house aside from your mortgage,
Mhm.
mechanics liens, tax liens, income tax liens, all those are going to need to be taken care of,
Yeah.
as well as potentially a home warranty.
Mhm. Right, yeah, and that's an
That's
option.
unlimited.
That's an optional fee,
That and
Um,
buyer's closing costs if they ask for it in the contract.
Yeah.
but, right.
Something to think about.
Mhm.
And then repairs on your house. I just I said to my sellers, make sure that you have a couple $1,000s, at least to put into some repairs that
Right.
might be asked for.
Right. And while you pay money up front to get your house ready for sale, it's not going to relieve you of, in most cases, the likelihood you're going to have to end up paying for remedy items and, those kinds of things
Right.
that a buyer is going to want you to fix before they will close.
Yeah, because there will be some stuff that they ask for typically.
Right.
Another optional fee is home staging. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big thing. I usually recommend it more if a house is vacant.
Right.
Helps the
Right.
house sell.
Sure.
Now, I mean, here, I don't think any of us charge for photos and advertising costs. We pay for that out of our commission. But sometimes it's with some real estate companies, that's an added charge.
Yeah, it depends on the agent.
If you want a certain level of
Right.
that.
Yeah, I think you'll find that with all, sometimes when agents will discount their commission, there's different structures. I think that's
Right.
what you were
Sure.
going
Sure.
towards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you only pay 2%, then, maybe the agent's going to charge you for some of the marketing stuff.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And then moving costs.
Yeah.
On
Which will be
both
on either
sides,
side.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe the cost of a few bottles of wine.
Yeah.
That's my gift to you.
Pizza
So
to help
Yeah.
get people.
Yeah,
people to
what
get
is it,
in.
Jenny? Pizza and pop for $4? You've written into contracts before?
he
Didn't you have
didn't
one
say
where-
that out loud. That's a secret strategy. Okay. Thanks.
I know that was a secret.
She's like,
So that's for sellers. Anything else for sellers?
Let me think.
Any sellers out
So
there
I
have
just sold
questions?
not too long.
Yeah.
But, honestly, one of the things that I think, sellers don't think about, it's really the added just cost of moving. And I mean, we talked about that a little bit, but we moved first, like out before we moved in. So then we paid for pods.
Storage if you
So
need.
we, so we put our stuff all in those portable pods where they drop it in your driveway. And so all our furniture and stuff was in there, which is super nice and convenient because when it comes time to move in, they drop that in the new driveway and then you move it in.
Did you have to get any permits in your neighborhoods?
Yes.
So
So
there was an added cost for those.
the city of Columbus was nice to charge us like an extra $125 per pod.
Of course
Or
they
something
are.
like that,
I
for
wouldn't
the
even think
pleasure
to
of
ask
doing
that.
business. Well, pods remind you. They won't drop it off unless you have the permit. So they remind you several times.
Wow. I had no idea that you would have to get a permit.
I didn't either.
Now,
so,
if you put it in your driveway, it's not, you don't have to have the permit if you put it in your driveway. If you have to drop it in the street, that's where you have to pay the permit.
but
Because my car would have been parked there anyways, but
Your car's not pod.
I'm not bitter.
But by the way, when you're thinking about those things, if you live in an area with an HOA, you need to check your HOA regulations and see how long something like that can be in your
Yeah,
driveway.
then you get the nasty neighbors, yeah, so.
Get those
So if
HOA
a pod is
regulations.
in your driveway, you don't have to ask? Okay.
No.
All right. Well,
Ours was, so we had 2 pods. And then we ended up, I forget why it was, we couldn't fit them both in the driveway. So one had to go in the street. And then, I will tell you, I mean, we used actual like the pods. There's a number of companies like Benz, and there's all these different companies that do the same thing or the same idea. Pods was amazing to work with. I mean, I'm getting nothing out of this, so it's not really an endorsement here, but they were actually really good to work with. So I recommend them.
And if you're going to do something like that, when we've talked before about downsizing ahead of time, maybe as you're getting ready to list, you go ahead and have one of those pulled up, put your stuff in there, and look, half your moving's done.
right.
Mhm.
Well, and I mean, it's a good idea too. I mean,
there's
doing that to just,
Purge.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, get rid of stuff. I mean, we purged and purged and purged, but jeez,
Purged and
get so much
purged and
stuff. And that's another. I mean, that's maybe when you're purging, if these neighborhood sales stuff to help
Mhm.
eat away at some of the costs. We sold a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So sell stuff on your neighborhood sites and try to
Yeah.
help pay
Oh, sure.
for some of those expenses.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's
Okay, so we're on the buy side.
on the buy side? Yep.
Earnest money is usually, I mean, it's kind of a weird cost because you do get that back at closing, but it is an out-of-pocket expense that will be deposited into an
Yep.
account.
Cash you're gonna need.
Mhm.
So it's a good faith deposit that people put down on houses when writing an offer to make your offer stronger.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it will go towards your down payment at closing.
Yeah, some people think that it's money to the seller. Sometimes sellers think that that's money paid to them. It's not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
If the contract's to fail because of inspection, you get that money back on the buy side.
Financing, yeah.
Financing troubles, you get that
So
money
it is
back.
your money, but it is cash that's gonna come out of your pocket.
That's just
Right.
being held.
Yeah, in a
And
non-interest
And a
bearing
trust
account.
account, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I always feel weird asking for it. I feel like people, where's that money really going? You know, it's like, but it is going in an account, and we're held accountable by the Division of Real Estate. Always.
Right.
Yeah, you get it back. You'll see a check.
You see a check, then you sign the back of the check and
yeah,
hand it over to the
and
seller.
there
Right,
it is. So
right.
don't worry about that.
Yes.
Some lender fees.
Mhm.
Appraisal is an out-of-pocket cost.
Yep.
And then
Charge.
just paying your lender actually as well.
And a lot of stuff will get paid at closing, like as far as these costs.
Right.
But some of them will get collected outside of closing. So like
And
your
like an
earnest
inspection.
money, your earnest money,
Yeah.
your appraisal. A lot of times they'll take your credit card for your appraisal.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because
really?
I've had lenders that will take their
Oh.
credit card for the because
Okay.
if it doesn't, somehow like
Close.
if the appraisal comes back low or it doesn't close for some reason, they still have to pay the appraisal.
Right.
So, that's kind of a sunk cost. So I've had some lenders that will eat that fee in that instance, but I've also had instances where they collect it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then your inspection, as you said.
We were paying what, about like $400, $500.
I'd
Yeah,
say
so these
between
are a
3
few
and 5,
$100
it depends,
each
yeah.
one of these things.
And then, your home inspection, it depends obviously on what you want done.
Right.
You have your base cost of just the whole house inspection, and
which
then
is
you
usually
have,
$300 to $400-ish, depending on the
and then
inspection.
radon, which is like what, like 100, 150, and then
If you have well and septic, you got to do this. You want to do a septic test. You want to do both well tests. They'll do a pressure test, and they'll do a test for any bacteria or things like that in the well.
If you're concerned about mold,
pest inspection as well.
pest, yep.
Which VA requires that you do, and the
But that will
sellers pay
require
for.
the seller. If you're
But-
doing a
well,
VA loan, then
right.
the
It
seller.
requires someone pays for it.
Right. So
That's
Not the
that's
buyer.
not the buyer.
It's not
That's a good
necessarily,
point.
it requires that the buyer does not pay for it.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's a good point. Someone
Right.
other than the
Right,
seller
yeah.
or the
and
buyer.
usually the sellers end up paying for it.
Mhm.
I've seen.
Now,
Mhm.
yes, we've had circumstances around that.
we're very clear about that now.
Yes, I mean we do
Yeah,
cover.
but
our
buyers,
bases.
buyers cannot pay for it. And I
On a VA loan.
I let
On
my
a VA
VA loan, so
loan.
if you're a veteran.
Yeah.
I let my sellers know when we have a VA loan come in, that's going to be a cost to them.
Mhm.
And it's about $90, I would say.
Yeah, it's usually less than $100. Like
Mhm.
so.
Now, if the appraiser has to go out twice, there can be an additional charge.
That's a
So
good point,
if
yeah.
it's like an FHA or a VA loan and something doesn't pass, and the appraiser has to go back out, you're going to be paying again.
Right, there will be another charge
Whose
for
phone is
that.
that on the end? Because Jenny's totally not even in it.
That's-
Mine, Jenny's not in mine either.
I'm not in a lot of. It's okay.
So you hear this mysterious voice coming on.
This was my bright idea to set up like this. I thought we could have like more of a discussion, but you see how that works. The idea person
Actually, it's
always cut out.
that extra voice you hear is Elizabeth.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, you're good at this.
Yeah.
So what other costs on the buyer side? I think that
Title, I mean,
Closing
you
you
costs.
still
Yeah,
have
there
your
will
reporting
be.
and title fees.
The closing cost, I would say, include your lender fees that we've talked about,
Yeah, because it costs money to borrow money.
your taxes, which we've talked about the sellers.
Homeowners insurance.
Yeah, and you do have to pay a year of your homeowner's insurance, which is part somewhat of your closing costs.
Mhm.
And so you pay these fees when you close.
Now, if you can talk to
She's like,
there's so
She's
many
bored.
fees to
She's
do.
bored.
fees.
She's like, stop with the fees, stop. Your lender should be able to tell you what their fees are going to be and the fees that are going to come from their end. And, we can help you plug those numbers in using, like the title company I use, World Class Title. I can go in for my clients if we know these fees, plug them in for them, and it'll estimate the closing costs and all the fees and
For
things like that.
sellers or buyers?
It'll do both sides.
And your
Now the
lender
one thing
should
it
be able
doesn't
to-
tell you on the buyer side is what the lender.
Right. So
Yeah,
so we
because
need
there's no way to know.
those.
I mean, that
You
depends
you
on
gotta
the
ask
lender.
the
Yes,
lender.
you've got to
I
ask.
would say average fees for lenders are what, 1,000 to 2,000?
I think it depends. I mean, I think.
I think more than that.
Well, I mean, if you factor in the appraisal and then you factor in their fees.
Well, I'm just saying just for your lender.
Right.
Listen, I have had lenders ask for as high as 6% closing costs.
But I think that
Yeah,
Those
for
are
the
the
seller to pay 6% in
I
closing
think
costs.
the 6% covers though.
All the
It covers everything. So that means
But still, that's a
Crazy.
lot.
Right, but I know, but I'm
But
saying
that's
it
what
depends
jacks
on
the
the
cost
lender, so
high,
it can
but-
be, I think, a cost that's a lot higher than what most people think. And
But-
just so everyone knows, that cost, when you're asking the seller to pay that, that's coming out of what the seller would profit from. I mean, basically, it's coming out of the seller's
It's going to
pocket.
impact how much they're willing to accept your offer.
Right. So just just an FYI.
So I mean, I've had, and I've written this into contracts too before, where let's say we're gonna realistically we want to offer $200,000 for the property, but we want $2,500 in closing costs.
Mhm.
I've seen the offer be for $200,000
right,
and
you offer more.
$2,500
Yeah,
with
there's-
25 because
Right.
you know that, right?
You can there's ways to
Mhm.
try to
And
finance it. It used to be back in the day you could just roll that cost in, but that's not neither here nor there.
and this is all in addition to your down payment, right? This is all in addition to that down
Yeah,
payment.
no, that's separate from the down payment. Yeah, so then you have your down payment, which can be. I just spoke with a lender that has a program for 1.5% down payment.
Nice.
Yeah, and then up from there. I mean, it used to be
Right.
20%, but
Right.
I mean, you can go much lower or higher if you want.
I think it boils down to, I think a lot of people want to make it so simple that there's a standard percentage of what your closing costs are going to be, and it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
Right.
Ultimately, you need to ask, the lender is probably the best person to give you your total
yeah.
closing cost
Right.
estimate, because they'll factor in all the government and recording and title fees, because they'll work with the title company to come up with that closing cost estimate.
The
So
closing costs, I've always thought of them to be as what the lender actually charges you to do the work,
right.
which I see around $1,000 to $2,000, and then the appraisal, and then some title fees, which ends up being around $2,000. And so I think that's kind of like the industry standard of what we think of as closing costs, because when you're getting into somebody paying your taxes and
Right.
your homeowner's insurance, those are costs that usually the
Right.
the
And
buyer should.
There are some that are factored on a percentage basis. It's just not across the board.
All right,
It's like-
lenders.
yeah. So
Feedback
chime
here.
in.
Yeah, chime in
Yeah,
anytime.
who's
Whoever's
out there?
watching, let us know what
but-
your bank does and what you usually charge for closing costs and what that applies to.
For
Because
instance-
obviously, everyone's
Everyone
got different. I mean, everyone works with different lenders and
if
different.
you and if you're super bored and you're very curious, like TJ mentioned, go to worldclasstitle.com, and at the top of the page they have a title estimator, a cost estimator, and a lot of title companies have that, not just them, but
Right.
that's who a few of us use. So in any case, so you can go estimate what those closing, or you just ask us.
Yeah.
And we can give you a ballpark, but again, it all factors in at the end.
Yeah. I think asking
Oh.
lenders.
Tom asked, explain what title insurance covers.
That's a good question. Very good question.
It is.
Yeah.
So basically, errors in, the simple way to put it is errors in the clear title. So the title company is going to say, these are all the things that need to be paid. If they're paid, then the buyer has a free and clear title. There are no other obligations on the property. Let's say a mechanics lien pops up that they missed. That
What's a
title,
mechanics lien?
that is, so you had Joe's Blacktop come out and redo your driveway and you never paid them. They're going to put a lien on your property. Or if you didn't,
Mechanics lien.
That's an additional policy, I think, though. Like, I think mechanics liens aren't typically covered in the
You have to-
traditional
you have to-
title policy. You have to pay extra for
Yeah, you have to
mechanics lien.
read it.
Yeah.
But maybe there's
But
more.
that's
than
another
this.
cost,
Yeah.
perhaps.
I mean,
Like,
right.
There's, yeah.
So, but and then basically they cover the cost if there was an error.
Mhm.
and it
Just
also
make sure
ensures
that you
rightful
like
owner.
Your
you know.
water.
Yeah.
and sewer. I mean,
Speaking of those, going back to seller costs for just a second, if you had any unpaid special assessments, those are going to need to be covered. So sewer rentals, unpaid water bills, light assessments. So
Those all get
everyone
paid.
on your street
Yes.
decided they wanted brand new Acorn-style lights, sidewalks installed, those sorts of things get tacked on to special assessments will have to be paid in full.
At
Close.
the
Right.
table.
And I think some things that people don't think about, I just had a transaction where there was a propane tank. So this was actually my first transaction where it actually had one where like heat wasn't a gas line run to the house. When you come into rural settings, it's too hard to have gas lines run. So a lot of times they'll have a propane tank like outside the house. Well, the seller had paid to have the propane tank filled. Well, it tells you on there how full it is, like by a percentage. So the buyer, we asked, at closing, the buyer would pay for however much propane was left in that tank.
Oh.
And so to fill those tanks, it was like $750
Oh, it's
to
expensive.
fill
Yeah,
a tank.
propane's expensive.
No, I mean,
Bye.
bye. Amanda has to go because she's out closing
Bye.
deals. She's a busy lady. We're just jealous, like, because we don't have a.
We busy too.
We're busy, but
I've been
Just not right now.
Calls on that.
But yeah, so there are special circumstances depending upon the house. I think a lot of this comes down to what are your costs at closing, and the answer is always, well, it depends.
And
Always depends.
And one other buyer's
move over here,
yeah,
so
so
you
you're
can
my screenshot. One other buyer's cost.
So we can see you.
Some
There
HOAs,
she
thanks,
is.
Jimmy. Some HOAs will charge a fee to the incoming member.
Transfer fee.
Yeah, it's a transfer fee, so you're going to have to pay that at closing. I know Hideaway Hills has one. I think some of Chase may have one. A lot of them do.
Mhm.
So, there's no standard answer for any of this.
It depends.
But
That
I
is the
think the
standard
biggest point of today's was be prepared that there will be some costs that need to be paid prior to closing. There will be some costs involved
Mm-hmm.
other than just the price of the home.
Right. And I think on the buyer side, I think it's not a fee, but a cost of buying. Is people don't realize that once you move into a house, you're now a homeowner. And there's a lot of,
that's after the sale.
it is after the sale, but I do think that you need to,
Well, come in.
oh, come back.
I'm like, really?
So, but factor in that you're going to need extra cash because we moved into our house and then realized, there's a bathroom window and there's no curtains and, it's like,
Sorry.
No,
just
I did
all
that.
this stuff that like you have to spend money on that you just don't think about. So
And if you're renting, you need to look at your timing because you may have to pay a fee if you're breaking your lease.
Yeah.
So
Or you may have to cover the rest of your lease.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conversations, and the hashtag of Jenny World. Let's have that conversation. There's a lot of conversations that need to be had.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I
they
think
really
that
are.
This is probably one of the biggest conversations because money obviously is a huge
Right.
factor in your ability and your want to do this.
So everyone watching, if you're on the buy side and you have questions about
Did someone have a question there? Is that just a really? I can't see that green.
It's just calendar. Oh wait,
the green section. Is there a question?
no.
Okay.
um,
Let's see what it is.
we have lenders watch, we have other real estate agents watch. So if you have these kinds of questions about fees, closing costs, whatever it might be, post in the comments.
Message
If
us,
you're
whatever.
watching on the replay, post that. Thank you for watching.
Mhm,
absolutely.
Let us know when you're watching it and when you're not. And, you can always private message, text, call as well if you've got
Of course.
questions.
Mhm.
And there's no obligation to have that conversation.
Or to buy or sell.
Or to buy, yeah.
Just because you're asking
there's
me
that
questions
too, yeah.
doesn't mean you can't do it just out of curiosity.
Need to have knowledge.
Yeah. So
But we look forward to having those talks, and that's what we do every day.
I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I always say this.
People are
you say
afraid they're going to be stupid. They think but no.
no stupid questions. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And
We know that we do this every day, and we know that you're going to do this just a couple times in your life, and that's fine. That's what we're here for.
And even if you did it, you've bought and sold before, but it's been 10 years. Things have changed.
things
you know,
have changed drastically.
quite a bit. So just because you've done it before, don't assume, because you know what happens when you do that, that you know the answer, because you might be surprised.
And don't assume that just because you bought somewhere else before that it's going to be the same here, or vice versa.
Sure.
I had a friend that I sent them out for a referral, but they bought a lake condo up for vacationing up in Huron, and they didn't read the contract through all the way, and it didn't come with a home warranty standard. And so nobody thought to ask for one, and then their AC went out. It's because it's going to be different.
There's, different places use different contracts. The biggest thing, read the contract.
Read, and even in Columbus, I find that different brokerages have modified our standard contract, which I have my own opinion on, which I won't get into now. But in any case, every contract can be different. So
Mhm.
the big point, and whoever just said that, Jenny or TJ, about reading the contract, read it. Because you really are making a big decision.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have people tell me, "Well, I trust you."
I know.
Okay, it's not a trust
Yeah, they are.
thing.
It's
It's
a legal document.
yeah.
They're signing.
You are the one that's getting into a legally binding contract, not me and someone else. You
And remember, your contract has, or should have, if there are days in there, an attorney review period.
Sure.
So you can still, even once you're in contract,
If you write that
if
in.
you write it in, you would have a certain number of days to take it to an attorney and have it reviewed and make sure that all the terms are still acceptable.
Yes.
So I think we're good. We've covered costs,
I think
and now
we
we've
nailed
gotten
it.
into a little bit other area, like we tend to do. One more plug for going local. The next one, I'm not going to say what we're doing, but I will say it's on the back of our wine bottle.
On the back?
If you can read that.
Oh.
It's a secret. That's why they came.
Oh, secret.
Secret.
It's a teaser.
Nice.
It's a teaser.
So, but again, as always, thank you so much for tuning
Yes.
in, watching.
Yeah, thanks.
Us, and
Again, let us know if you're watching on the
hopefully you got
replay.
something out of
Thank you
today.
for watching.
Cheers.
Bye again.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Amanda.
Cheers. Cheers.
Bye, y'all.
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.
Come on, baby.
Oh, I just nailed my knee on.
I don't know where yours is. I'm sorry.
It's right there.